Got it.
There we go. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, and welcome to the Blurring the Lines podcast. This is episode number 160. I'm your host, Adam Bell, and joining me as always is my co-host, Peter Nikolaidis. How you doing, Peter?
How are you doing, Adam?
Just fine.
Excellent. You sound a little tongue-tied. Is that because we have brand new recording equipment in place today?
It must be. We've got our microphone stands in place, and hopefully our call quality is even better than it's ever been. And it falls right under one of my favorite sayings: we've upped our standards, now up yours.
Bada bang. Well, I don't know if I've upped my standards, but I've upped my aspirations. So now up yours.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. So yeah, I'm back to running regularly now.
Yep.
Yep.
No balloon feet.
Yep. No, things are pretty good. I'm easing back into it. So my physical therapist this week cleared me to run for 3 minutes at a time, 1 minute off walking. So I do what's called run walks. Even that, doing a run walk, I averaged I think my last mile was my last session was 9 minutes 49 seconds per mile average during a 5K. So I was doing well under 10-minute miles walking a quarter of the time.
Yeah.
So I thought that was all right.
Yeah.
So it's not like I've completely lost it all. So I'm pretty happy about that. But yeah, it feels really good just to be moving again. And I don't know, I had shared with you a couple of nights. I definitely indulged in Oreos a little bit. And I'm about solid 10 pounds heavier than I was the day of the marathon, which is not really to be terribly surprised,
That's funny. You said more than once that Oreos are a temptation for you. I'm like, no, there's nothing bad about them. Yeah. They taste good. They've got a good flavor. They're sugary. If I never ate another Oreo, I wouldn't miss it, but they're not bad.
That's the thing too. It's like, I don't need Oreos, but when I have them and I've bought them, I'm like, ooh, I want to eat those. And I was tempted when I have sweets in the house, I'm always tempted to, to get them. And so that's why when I'm dieting seriously, I get all that stuff out of the house, just don't have it anywhere. So that's the only way to be sure. So.
Now mine is chocolate, like truffles. If I've got a box of those, they are not going to survive.
All right. Well,
I'll just have 3. No, I'll have 4.
I'll just say, like Jim Gaffigan says, when you're eating mini muffins, it's like, what's the deal with mini muffins? They're so small, they hardly count. I'll just have 1 or 12.
1 or 12.
Speaking of Jim Gaffigan, I just got tickets to see Jim Gaffigan. I just bought him this morning. He's coming to Medford.
Nice.
So he'll be here next April, right there at the Chevalier Theater, Omicron permitting. And so let's hope, because I saw a buddy Guy there was a few weeks ago, and I love having a theater right, literally 15-minute walk from my house.
Yeah.
And it's great. And so here my favorite stand-up comedian is coming to town. I'm like, yeah, this is why I moved to Boston. This is why I live here. This is great. Except when it was Buddy Guy, that show got canceled or rescheduled 3 times. So who knows?
Yeah, I think Gaffigan's funny.
I don't know what his newest stuff is too. I'm really curious. I haven't seen it, but that's the other nice stuff about having a Spotify or an Apple Music subscription is you get his new stuff whenever it's there. It's like, yay.
Yeah.
So all right. So what else? What's new in the Adam world? Are you any new CrossFit updates or anything? Or
well, so last week I kind of got sinus crud. I was fighting it on the show last week, and it hit me over the weekend and just knocked me out. I couldn't breathe, and it kind of went from my head into my chest. And so I couldn't do any CrossFit because if I walk up the stairs and I'm out of breath, just imagine doing burpees for 2 minutes and
What could possibly go wrong?
yeah. So kind of felt like crud. So this week was a unplanned rest week.
Sometimes those are the best rest weeks. And cough.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm clearing out. So by next week I'll be right as rain, as
Good for you.
As the expression goes.
You know, that's the thing is too, is I've noticed. So I have, so I've got a client call right after this. And then right after that, I have tickets for Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah.
Of course, today, Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man movie comes out. I'm not going to see that anytime soon, unfortunately, but I got Ghostbusters matinee tickets. And when I bought them, the only 2 seats booked in the entire theater were my 2 seats.
Yeah.
Since then, the entire front row that I have has filled up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I'm wondering, like, should I cancel it and go for a refund and exchange and just take the 2 seats down in front and move out of the row that I'm in? Because I'm like, I don't know, man. People are still being stupid about this virus. So,
well, and they may not actually fill it up, and you may be able to just move anyway.
That's generally what happens, is usually, but I'm kind of one of those guys who's like a stickler for the rules. So if the rules say you sit here in this seat and that's your ticket, I tend to just sit where I bought the ticket for.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, one year, so the Music City Bowl, that's one of the college bowls, and it happens here in Nashville at the Titan Stadium. Well, one year we bought Music City Bowl tickets, and they were nosebleeds. I mean, UT was playing. I mean, they were nosebleeds. So we're going, and we're walking down the sidewalk, and on the sidewalk are 2 tickets. So we picked them up. They are 45-yard line, 14 rows back from the UT side. Like, nobody's looking for them. So we picked them up and went in.
Because what are you going to do with that? Now some would argue like the ethical thing to do would be to like take them to the ticket counter and, like turn them in somewhere.
Yeah, probably should have done that in hindsight, because we were like, well, what do we do with them? I mean, because if we can't just say, are these your tickets? Because they're like, well,
yes, yeah. Those are my tickets. Thank you.
So, but yes, in hindsight, after we thought about it, it's like, well, what we could have done is taken it to the ticket box and say, hey, we found these. If somebody comes looking for them, here they are. But then they'd have to go to that ticket box. Then they'd, so we had these awesome seats to watch the game, which we had tickets for elsewhere. But the whole time, like the whole first quarter, we're like, well, we're wondering when their friends are going to get here, or they're going to say, hey,
hey, how you doing? Hi, Adam.
Hi. Where's John and Jane? Aren't they supposed to be here? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, they couldn't make it.
What? This is a great game.
How do you know John and Jane? Are you friends from work? Oh, brother. So yeah, in these periods of time where you hear sudden silence, dear listener, if you're not watching the video, you'd see this is where Adam is turning his head to cough. So I'll try to be better about filling in those silences.
And it's not a physical, just be clear.
Got it. Well, you just said you had that creeping crud there. So
yeah.
Hey, I'm curious, do you generally provide, are you like 100% managed services, or do you ever like sell one-offs or like sell a license or anything, or you do all of that through your monthly contracting these days?
We don't. Yeah, we only do managed services. We do have a couple of legacy break fix clients that will just work by the hour. But if somebody, and it really depends, if somebody needs a favor, like somebody really needed a Meraki and, you can only get it through a dealer, I might help them out. Right. But generally speaking, no. Just if somebody called up and said, hey, we need an Office 365 license, like, well, then whip out your credit card and buy one. It's in the billing section. I'll tell you where it is.
Gotcha. No, I was curious because recently, like moving forward, are you familiar with the Microsoft Open License Plan or Open License Program?
Yeah, as it's going away.
Going away, exactly. And so I had in typical fashion, I have a client who asked for a quote on Windows Server 2019. Or no, sorry, he said, what I have is I have a new hardware, new core, new box. I want to install Windows Server 2016 on, or no, 2019, I forget. But I bought a bunch of client access license for 2016. So can I still use that? And I didn't remember, because I know you used to be able to buy, like, for example, a newer version of Windows Server and then have downgrade rights so you could write an old one. But I didn't remember if that applied to the client access licenses as well. Does that apply to the CALs or not? So I emailed, and my client gives me this very well thought out explaining, this is what I've bought. This is what I have. These are the old licenses I have. Can I do this? Can I do this? If not, can I do this? And I get back from my distributor, here's a quote on Windows Server 2019. I'm like, okay. Is that the answer? Because there were like multiple questions here, so like, I don't know what I got here. And then I was like, so if we wanted to do this, could I do this? And they're like, oh no, if you want to do that, you have to buy this. But if you want to downgrade rights to this, you have to buy Windows Server 2022. And that's over here. And I'm like, oh, I haven't done that before. So I've definitely done like the cloud solutions provider stuff, because I resell 365 and stuff all the time. But I haven't done that with Windows Server 2019 or with Windows Server licenses yet. Haven't bought it that way. So that's the first for me, where I have to quote that out.
Yeah. And it's only, I don't know, they just make it harder and harder to do, but so it goes.
Yeah, well, there's a reason that there's a Microsoft certified licensing specialist certification.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead.
I mean, I buy through a company called Tech Data. They're my reseller.
I also buy everything through Synex.
Yeah. Synex, Tech Data, they're now together. Were you with Tech Data before, or with Synex and then when they joined?
I was, but generally I was using Synex because pricing was usually better.
Okay.
But service. So here's the thing, is like, I have a dedicated account rep with Synex. I have a team which is really good at not responding to my emails at Tech Data. And it's like with Tech Data, it's like, I never know who I'm going to get. I never know who I'm talking to. And it's really weird. With Synex, I have one person. She's generally a disappointment and usually demonstrates various degrees of incompetence, but at least I have one person that I can deal with. I would go back and forth, because often, more recently, especially now in COVID times and supply chain shortages, sometimes Tech Data will have a laptop that Synex just would not, for example. And so, I would deal with them there. But in general, like, it's not a rush. You're going to get it next week. I'll save, $50, $100 on a laptop. I'll take that extra margin. That's a nice steak dinner for me. So, I'll wait a little bit. It's like, no, I really need to get this. I need it now. I'll order it from Tech Data. So I'm curious to see what happens with this merger, really, because other than just rebranding some logos, I haven't seen any differences yet.
Well, and to me, the service has gotten worse since they've merged, because I used to have subpar service. Now I have bogey service. I mean, it's
even better. I was gonna say, you didn't get par service, so what did you get? Oh goodness.
Bogey or double bogey. Like, I know it just happens the renewal dates for everything is the 8th of the month, so it's that's when the subscription starts over. So I've gone in 9 days ahead of the subscription coming up for renewal, and I want to make a change to it so that I get it done before then. And then I don't have this, because the way they do it is they do a partial prorated for the entire month, and then they end up giving it back to you. They reconcile it, but you've paid for the whole month. Well, that adds up when you're talking about 600 licenses. you know. So, and they'll get back with me 9 days later for, I need this reserved instance updated.
Yep.
And they don't even get back to me for 9 days. Well, that whole time I overpaid for Microsoft. And Microsoft, they're not going to give me the money back because
Why would they do that?
my retailer took their time making a change.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Yeah. I'm actually looking for a better vendor. I found another one, but they don't seem to be much better either. Nobody because here's the underlying problem. Nobody understands it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's way too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's one reason, like when there are alternatives and there are smaller vendors, I prefer to deal with smaller vendors.
Mm-hmm.
So I forget now, we did record last week, right?
We did.
It's been so long since we've done so consistently. So I did mention about the eye issue that I was having last week.
Yep. You found a 4-month-old contact in your eyeball.
4-week, but who's
okay.
So the good news is, as of today, I think my vision is back to where it was.
Yeah.
It took about 3 or 4 days afterwards. I did see my optometrist on Saturday, and she said, yep, it looks good. And she said, yeah, it takes like, I forget how long. It takes so long to for the like a part of the eye to start growing over the lens.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, if you leave it in long enough, the lens, your natural lens will like grow over the plastic lens, and that apparently is not a good thing.
Yeah, it'd be like a fence row next to a tree.
Well, it's like an implant, Yeah,
Yeah.
fence row next to a tree. That sounds so Tennessee. So here's the thing, though. She said, yeah, and she just says this so matter of factly, it's just like, yeah, I once found 3 contact lenses in a patient's eye. So sort of like, don't feel that bad. Kind of like,
yeah.
I felt like a freaking idiot though. Like, how did I miss that? I just don't understand how I missed that. But how did 3 contact lenses? You just keep on sticking them in there every day? I mean, like, how does that happen?
Do I remember correctly, or maybe I'm not correct? Can you see a contact lens with a black light?
That I don't know. I don't know.
That sticks. Maybe I'm just imagining, but that sticks in my mind that you could. Because like, if you had a black light, maybe you could just look at your eye and like, hey, look.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the thing, is usually I see them. And like I said, I went to my doctor's office and the physician's assistant, she didn't see it.
Yeah.
And then, so
that's really shame on her then.
Yeah. And again, this is like, I should have just known, like, if it's an eye issue, go to the eye doctor. That's, maybe not the one down at the local lens crafters there, but my real eye doctor that I've been seeing for almost 10 years now and have been fairly happy with it. So like, why did I not do that right off the bat? Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, happy ending. It did take a few days though, because I was definitely, I was a little concerned because my vision in my right eye was weaker. It was worse. It was blurrier than my left, which is usually not the case.
Right.
But then again, as of like, I think yesterday or maybe even the day before, I look across the room and I can read my diploma with my right, but not with my left. I'm like, things feel better again. And like, my reading glasses work and my distance glasses work. I'm so happy now. Oh goodness, that was scary though. That was not a happy time. So.
No, things with your eyes. Really things with senses are pretty scary. I think eyesight would probably be the worst. I wouldn't want to lose any of them, but I think eyesight would probably be worse than hearing or others,
Yeah, for us, we primarily rely on eyesight, but think about, like, what if you lost your sense of touch?
Yeah, that'd be difficult too.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. So anyway, before we get too much on a downer, let's talk about happy things.
Things
like revenge porn.
Oh, that doesn't sound happy.
Oh God. So I recently dealt with a case of revenge porn, sort of. So here's the thing: if you're not familiar with this, and I've definitely spoken with people who had not heard the concept before. In my experience, it's generally a guy gets pictures, gets hands on pictures of an ex-girl and girl acquaintance, not necessarily an ex-girl. I suppose that's a case too. But
Yeah.
what happens is it's often that an ex posts photos, doctored or otherwise, of their ex in an attempt to dox them and and shame them. The case I investigated was interesting, however, because it was a guy who doxed his ex girlfriend or wife, I don't know, by sending sample pictures of her various online profiles to a bunch of coworkers, her coworkers, essentially outing her. But here's the thing: it doesn't look like these were private collection videos or photos. These were her online profiles on Instagram and Twitter and onlyfans.com.
No.
So like, she's putting it all out there for the very apt description. And he just forwarded this on to, her boss and her boss's boss.
Information.
So I was like, but there's a lot going on there, like I don't. So it was interesting, to say the least, but I'm like, dude, you don't go posting pictures of yourself in company uniform online. And someone asked, like, wait, how did you post nudes while in company uniform? I'm like, okay, so you just unbutton and like, really, do I have to really explain this to you?
Use your brain.
Use your imagination.
It'll come to you.
Oh my God. So that was interesting, to say the least. And just, but this, like, so many lessons learned here. People like,
and how old were these people?
I think early 40s.
No, really? So
like, y'all know better.
Yeah, I don't know better.
Yeah, these are not like 20 someone's, like right out of school or something. So it was anyway, yeah. So it was interesting, to say the least. So, but yeah. All right, so that was the happy thing. Well, let's talk about other happy stuff. Audits. Sorry, I was on a roll. So I'm right now, it's audit season for two of my largest engagements, both at the hospital and my fintech startup. And so on both of these, I'm having to deal with auditors and stuff. And it's interesting, because I'm sitting here, in one side, I'm trying to collect information for the auditors that they're asking for. And, they get really small, like not even complete sentence requests for stuff. And so it's no wonder that the stuff that they get back is often not what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Because the requests are really, really poorly written. It's like example of blah, where blah is extremely vague. Like, can't you guys put in, like, just dedicate a couple brain cells to this request so that it makes sense and we know what the heck you're trying to get from us?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times, being in IT, they're asking us questions and they don't understand the answers. They know the answer that they need to get, but they don't understand the answer, and sometimes the question is like, well, I need to give you more information.
Often, and that's the thing, is auditors often don't understand what they're asking for. I've worked with plenty who just have no clue, and they're like, it says this. I'm like, yeah, I know it says that. I asked you what that means by that. They're like, it says this. Like, okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, but see, if I answer this no right here, I'm gonna fail. But no is the right answer. Yeah.
Well, I've had that too. Like, one of my engagements, they said, well, we say in our policy that we do this training every year. I'm like, okay, but we didn't do it last year. What did we say? You say you didn't do it last year. Oh, I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't lie to the auditors,
Yeah.
or, you do it right now and you put down like, yes, it was done. This was the date.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's a common practice. Auditors, in preparation for things, I'm sure they constantly find stuff like, oh, right, we were supposed to do that and we didn't,
Mhm.
but we did it right now. Okay. So yeah, so that will probably come up as a finding, but you did it. So move on, but like, what do we say? Well, you don't lie and say that you did something that you didn't do,
Yeah.
for starters,
Yeah.
and that's often I get this impression sometimes that the clients are asking me like, well, can't we just say that we did it? I'm like, can't we just lie? Is that what you're saying? Can't we
Yeah.
just lie? Right. Yeah. No, it's not what you say. So.
Yeah. So I just went through, I mean, it wasn't exactly audit, but my insurance renewal period is in November. And so one of those items is cybersecurity insurance, where I was able to get it through one carrier for the past 2 years for around $1,400. This year, that it was going to be $7,000 for cybersecurity insurance to match what I had because I'm an MSP. And so I was like, okay, let's view other options. We need to find
Mhm.
another vendor other than these people, because obviously they don't want to cover me and they don't understand it. And one of the people that I went to, they said, do you use Kaseya? I said, well, yes, I do. We won't cover you, period. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I get where you're coming from, but you guys are so ill-informed, because not all of Kaseya was compromised. And after a company has been breached, they are now the safest that they have been all along, because they've got so much scrutiny on them. Everybody's looking at it themselves, their clients, their vendors, their competition, and I'm sure their insurance auditors, are looking at, did you fix it? I'm like, Kaseya is now safer than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, well, SolarWinds, they've fixed theirs. I mean, that's been 2 years ago now, so we don't care about them. I'm like, well, actually, they're just about the time that their security lull has occurred, and they're not keeping up to date again. So I'm like, come on, guys. I mean,
Yep.
you don't even know the extent of the Kaseya breach.
Exactly. And that's the thing is like, yeah, I mean, after companies are breached, they do tend to go through and clean stuff up, which is great, but that's not a given.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to come, bet on that. And the fact that they got breached, yeah, I mean, that's a concern, right? Kaseya got breached. We don't use them. At the hospital, we definitely gave SolarWinds a sideways glance.
Uh-huh.
And we're looking to see about finding replacements for them. So like some of them too, it's like, how did they handle the incident? How did they respond to it? Did they try to cover it up? Were they just doing blatantly stupid things? SolarWinds 123 as an admin password?
Yeah.
Come on, really? That's the kind of stuff that makes me say no more.
Mhm. Yeah. So all right. So did I tell you that I was on the news week before last, I guess?
Did.
I did?
Yes, that was a good little bit there too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think I told you, but I don't think we talked about it on the show. So I was on our local WKRN Channel 2 news. So Tennessee has, well, throughout the United States, funding is being discussed and scheduled to go to the states to help shore up cybersecurity. And they are sending $21 million to Tennessee.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. So what they were doing, how I came to be on the news, was they wanted to get local IT experts on, what's my take on them giving money to help protect for cybersecurity, and what should they do with the money? Well, I told them, I said, well, it's not enough money. I mean, it's not going to protect. I mean, it's not going to do an awful lot, honestly. 21 million. That sounds like a lot of money, but you're talking about corporations throughout the United States, because what we do My tools cost about 50% of everything that I charge for my clients, just the tools to protect them. So my business, overall, we're looking at 1.5 million, and that's 40 clients.
Yep.
So just doing simple math, if you cut that in half, saying half of that was all tools,
yep,
750,000, that only protects 40 businesses in Tennessee.
Yep.
So I'm protecting, 40 businesses for $750,000, $21 million spread throughout the entire state. You can do the math on that. We're not going to protect a lot of companies.
Yep. Yep. It's not enough. It's just totally not enough. So yeah. So how did the local news station get your info?
They just found me. We're very prominent in Google and local, and he found me, asked me if I was available, and I was like, when can we book this? Because I'm really busy. And he's like, I need this to go out this afternoon. I was like, oh, okay, let's record this at 11. And it was kind of my I kind of anticipated that he would record, ask a bunch of questions, and then like 15 or 20 seconds would be all that came out of it. So, and that was about right, about 30 seconds of answers. But I was pleased that, I didn't look like a dummy, like splicing some pieces together that didn't make sense or taking something out of context. So it's kind of a risk, really.
It's always the way it is, oh boy, I tell you. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind getting some some $21 million come my way for stuff like that.
So. Yeah, well, and I told him my recommendation was, it doesn't really matter about the tools. The number one problem is user education.
Yep.
Because it doesn't matter how good my tools are if you give away your password.
You can just bypass all of the things, there's no I'm just trying to find a little picture. I can't find it right now, but there was a little comic, a comic strip or a little political cartoon thing one time. It said like, it showed a boxing match and it says, like in this corner, we have, like the Russians, the Chinese, all these hackers with all these advanced tools and blah, 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 blah. And in this corner, we have Bob.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, Bob, gonna lose. Gonna lose.
Yeah. So that's part of our uphill battle, is just training users. People are smart. People are smarter than they give themselves credit to, but then they shut their brains off when it comes to computers at some places.
Well, I thought you were going to say like Ron White. Well, I'm smart, but you can't prove it on paper.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. People have their flat spots where they're just completely dumb. And it seems like computers is one of those that people just say, I don't understand it, I quit.
Yep. Oh, totally. And yeah, that's a thing. And it doesn't help that the attackers know how to exploit people when they're at their worst to get you to shut off the critical thinking part of your brain and get you just in fight or flight response and do stupid things that are not in your best interest.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So Elizabeth spoke on a podcast this past week to elder people.
Yep.
And so they were, I said, well, this is what they need to get. Anything that elicits an emotional response from them, they need to be wary of that. If it makes them excited. Yeah.
That's really funny, because I literally just blogged about that a couple weeks ago. Like literally.
Yeah. If it gets your heart rate up, that's your flag right there. Okay.
Let me find out exactly what I wrote. Hold on. Emotions and email do not mix well. November 18th.
There you go.
When you're in an emotional state, when we are in an emotional state, we don't make good decisions. Think about this for a minute. When have you ever found yourself making informed, calculated, smart decisions in a highly emotional state? We don't. We jump to conclusions. We make rash decisions, often very poor ones.
Mhm.
And I went on from there. So there
Exactly.
you go. Huh, wow.
We're on the same page.
Indeed.
Cool.
Ah,
All right.
all right. What else we got?
So we had some things in your list there.
We
Mentioned-
did. Now, did you have other stuff though? I feel like I've been dominating the last few episodes.
No. I mean, I had stuff. I mean, I've talked. We did talk about we mentioned in the recording that we did not record upgrading to Windows 11 and Server 22. Should you do it?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I wouldn't. I had a client just email me and said, "Hey, my CEO, do you have a good backup program for like local stuff? My CEO wants to back up his local PC to a removable hard drive."
Mhm.
And I was like, I can sell you a solution that will do that and back it up to the cloud, so you'll actually have decent protection.
Yeah.
Right. But I was like, he's like, well, he doesn't want cloud, just wants local and stuff. I was like, yeah, use Windows backup.
Yeah.
Like literally I click start button, I just type backup and it's like backup settings. Here you go. He's like,
Mhm.
oh, I couldn't find that on Windows 11. I'm like, beats the heck out of me, buddy. I haven't even looked at Windows 11 yet, and I don't plan to for, in the very near future. So you have fun with that.
So before Windows 11 came out, I sent it in my newsletter. I sent it as an "Are you aware" letter so my "Are you aware" letter goes to the CEOs, the VIPs of the company. The newsletter goes to everybody who will let me send them a newsletter. And it, employees, everybody. And
Yep.
it said, do not upgrade to Windows 11 for a minimum of 6 months.
Yeah. Wait until the new, the new service pack or the next cycle release, whatever they call it, comes out.
Yeah. So if you feel the need that you absolutely need to test Windows 11, fine. Do it on a brand new computer that's built for Windows 11, or an old computer that was certified to work with Windows 11, and it's non-production, meaning if it's quirky, if it doesn't have if your features aren't perfect anymore, then doesn't matter. I mean, it's a non-issue. Did it stop people from upgrading to Windows 11?
Nope.
No.
No.
And then we have some that, they upgraded to 11, and then we found that, okay, we did the research, they had a problem. Yep, Outlook search gets broken with upgrading to Windows 11. Are you sure? Yes, we're sure. It's on Microsoft's website. It's a known bug. It's a known problem. The only solution today is to use Windows 10 with Outlook for the search function to work properly.
Yep.
Or you wait till they fix it.
Or you wait. Yep. There you go.
Because it's you're like, well, we'll use OWA in the short term. Well, there you go. I mean,
there you go. Easy peasy. Brother. Yeah. So the short answer is no, don't do it yet. Next.
Don't do it yet. Oh, yes. So you said in Friends with Beer episode number 6, you might have imbibed too much.
Define too much.
Drunk.
I muted myself. Remember we were talking about those keystroke shortcuts?
Yeah.
Apparently Alt-A mutes you, and somehow I just hit Alt-A when I was trying to do Alt-Tab to tab switch. Yeah, Friends with Beer episode 6. I was definitely tipsy. I sampled 2 beers, and they were both fairly strong. One of them was Omegang Brewery's Everything Nice, which is like a 9% holiday beer.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. It's like a nice Belgian double or a Belgian triple with a spicy finish.
Mm-hmm.
and it's so tasty. It was really yummy.
Nice.
And yeah, and I drank a lot of it. And I had something else beforehand too. And I was definitely getting a little sloppy towards the end. And then
Yeah.
they say when you drink a lot of alcohol, you make good decisions. Cause then after that episode was done, I was hungry. So I ordered like a dozen Nashville hot wings and a large pizza from the local Wegmans, and
Yeah.
ate most of both.
Yep. Good decisions.
It was great. It was wonderful. So, like you do stuff like that rarely, you can probably get away with it. So,
Mhm.
but again, that plus I've been eating like, so for the marathon after party,
Mhm.
one of my friends brought me like 2 bags of Oreos, which I only opened one of them within the last few days. So I've been like plowing my way through those also.
Mhm.
So that's, once those are done, I'm like, okay, that's enough. I'm going out for dinner with friends tonight. Tomorrow, I'm doing an all day yoga, qigong, and meditation retreat.
Nice.
So as of tonight marks like, this is the end, my friend. tomorrow,
Yeah.
tomorrow I'm back to it. I'm going to be running almost every day. I'm doing my physical therapy exercises. So the party's over for now.
Mhm. Yeah. Well,
Uh,
so we're doing at CrossFit, it has ended, but they were doing a 75 days of like really cleaning up your diet and everything. And one of those included alcohol and diet and water and rest and, all the good things that you should be doing anyway. It just kind of makes you be really intentional about it. So one of the things I'm kicking out is alcohol just altogether, like, because it's just empty calories. And I was kind of getting in the habit of drinking too regularly. So I'm like, okay, so I'm just going to cut it out and I don't need it. so I have.
yeah, it's good. I mean, like I definitely like I have months and months worth of beer here
Yeah.
at the pace that I'm drinking them.
Hmm.
Right. And I'm not drinking a lot, right? Definitely when I'm hanging out with the lady, having a glass of wine, sometimes a little bit of sip of scotch or something, sure. But it's not like I don't know, like after I do like I have like a really good workout or I do like a 10-mile run or something, I feel like it feels like a sense of accomplishment. I feel like
Hmm.
I reward myself with one, but I don't need every day to, reach for a beer. And I think
Hmm.
I know I'm healthier because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause that was where I was. I was like, I was drinking a beer or two every day. I'm like, that's too often. So now I'm limiting myself to social one and not more than once a week. Just we're out for dinner, we're out with friends, I'll have a glass of wine or a beer or whatever. Keep
Yep.
it moderate.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. That's exactly it. So,
So,
yeah. So, yeah, moderation, all things in moderation, including moderation, as I like to
yeah.
say.
If you're a moderator, keep it moderate.
If you're moderated. So what else we got to talk about here? We're getting close to wrapping up. So
Yeah, we're
let's
getting close to wrapping up. We haven't done I don't think we did a nifty last week.
we did not. So the nifty that I like is called Espanzo.
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 You you habla espanzo?
Habla Espanzo. It's so it means like to expand, right? And what it is it's a free open source text expander. So, for example, a lot of the stuff that I have to do with one of the audits, like all documents before they go to the auditors, flow through me. And a lot of these, I just need to rubber stamp. I glance at it, I say, yep, this looks good, reviewed and approved. Boom, move on. With Espanzo, I have a keyboard shortcut, :RAP. So I type a :RAP, and Espanzo interjects that and types out reviewed and approved, new paragraph, Peter. So it's just keyboard shortcuts, right? So if you find yourself typing the same thing over and over and over again, it's really handy for that. I frequently will direct clients and prospects, like, you can see my availability and schedule a 30-minute call with me at https://www.speaktotheexpert.com. Please use this to pick a time that meets our,
Mhm.
or conveniently meets our schedules. :STTE.
Nice.
So I just type :STTE and it says all that. And then I can just fire away the email and stuff. So I looked at this. There are commercial versions, but since I'm cheap, I always like to look first for an open source thing,
Mhm.
which is what I did. And so far it's been working really well, but every now and then it seems to kind of get confused and it just like stops working and I need to reload it. So I'm not sure if it's a Windows permissions thing or it's a bug, but I just demonstrated it in the show notes.
Mhm. Yeah. It just flew right in there.
So far though, it's working pretty well. And just demonstrate, you can see it in real time, right?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I like that. And like I have a bunch of those things. And what I've also been doing is there's no iOS version, obviously, but iOS supports text shortcuts also in the keyboard. And this is something I blogged about when they introduced this, like more than 10 years ago, I think. Like if I type in the letter R twice, it replaces it with ARE. And if I type U, the letter U twice, it turns into YOU, for example. And so I use a lot of the same shortcuts on my phone. So I just type in like :STTE on my phone and it will say the same thing. I forget the exact name of the blog article, but I think it was like how to type like a teenager and not look like an idiot or something. But you can use all these short little, like quippy little responses and stuff and still, have a well-formed, like something doesn't look like you're just like texting on a T9 keyboard.
Yeah.
So, pretty cool stuff. So
Well,
anyway, so yeah, I like a Spenzo.
So I was thinking of the practical uses. I mean, what you described is very practical use, but I was also thinking about, my guys on the help desk who, exact same thing. Hey, we use Calendly. I need you to get on my Calendly calendar.
Yep.
CAL : boom. That would be really slick. Or, closing this ticket because you won't call me back.
No response from the customer, closing this ticket, like :NRP, or :NRFC, no response from customer, right?
Yeah.
:NRFC, blah. So with the Spenzo, everything starts with a colon.
Mhm.
I think you can probably redefine that, but by default, that's what you do. So it's like : this, : that. And if you're a programmer, you frequently find yourself like a lot of these things you can do in a text editor, right? So if you're a programmer, it'll do text expansion stuff for you if you're using Notepad++ or Visual Studio or something, or Atom. There's a number of different things where you can say, like, if you type IF open parenthesis, it'll close the parenthesis, open a curly brace, open a close curly brace. So you can start building out your if statement.
Mhm.
You can do the same type of stuff in any program when you're composing an email or something. So it's gonna be pretty handy.
Cool. Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah, so that's nifty. There are definitely options. There are commercial options out there, but like I said, let me see what I do. See how this one does, and this one so far it seems to be working pretty well. So I'm like, I like it. So
Very cool.
there you go.
All right. Well, I think we can leave on a winner. And
all right.
You want to take us out?
I will take us out. So if you want to get a hold of us, we would love your feedback. You can find us at blurringthelinespodcast.com. We've turned off comments. Have we turned off feedback there too? I didn't even remember.
No, you can still do the form fill.
Okay, you can still contact us there. So if you have suggestions for topics, or just want to say hi, buy us a beer, whatever, yeah, you can find us there.
Yeah.
Podcast.com. Adam can be found at sublimecomp.com and also on Twitter at sublimecomp. I can be found on Twitter at Nikolaidis, NIKOLAIDIS. My business is at paradigmcc.com. My yoga is at yogawithpeter.com. The other podcast that I co-host with Scott Wilsey is friendswithbeer.com. And on that note, since we were smart enough to actually record this time, I say we
Yes.
stop recording, Adam, and you go ahead and push the big red button.